I guess the drive for a national focus has been a recurrent theme in the discourse surrounding workers' compensation arrangements in Australia now for about 40 years. For the most part, the impetus for a national workers' compensation framework has been characterised by occasional bold initiatives, followed by sharp reversals and periods of what I call entrenched inertia. Progress has been illusory or ephemeral. It is only more recently that any real prospects of substantive change have appeared on the regulatory horizon. The catalyst for this turnaround has been a seismic shift in judicial interpretations of key provisions of the Australian Constitution and a political recasting of the nation's federalist division of labour. Underpinning both these developments has been the dramatic transformation of the Australian economy that commenced in the early 1980s and which has subsequently given rise to demands for a restructuring of business regulation in Australia. These demands for business regulation have been led primarily by corporate Australia and encompass a wide range of regulatory issues which impinge upon business activity. Increasingly, the locus of regulation has been shifting from the states and the territories to the national arena. In the area of labour law, industrial relations, occupational health and safety, and workers' compensation have emerged as the main candidates of regulatory interest. In examining this resurgent national agenda, I'll firstly examine the previous efforts to establish a national workers' compensation framework. It will be suggested that all of the developments which have occurred can be conceptualised as 4 discrete phases within a broader policy trajectory. In considering these developments, particular emphasis will be placed on the more recent initiatives, especially those which were adopted by the former Liberal National Coalition government and since 2007 the Rudd Labor government. We'll finish with an assessment of the prospects for the establishment of a national regulatory framework. Right, the first attempt was to get a national framework was that of the Whitlam government, backed by the recommendations of the Woodhouse inquiry. This was by far the most ambitious compensation reform ever attempted in this country. It led to legislation being introduced into the Parliament by Whitlam in 1974. The legislation itself was based on the New Zealand legislation and attempted to create a national no-fault compensation and rehabilitation scheme that would cater for both work and non-work related injury.